Do you feel like alpha males exist?
I wouldn't even know what that means, man. It's one of those words like God, man. It's so convoluted and so
Facts.
construed, and so many people say so many different things. I know a real man exists, and I think that's what everybody should be striving for.
Facts.
That alpha male. I mean, I'm not gonna say it because there's a couple people who didn't say it who I got respect for. But anybody who got to tell you that alpha male, man, seem like they projecting and trying to be too strong about some shit.
Nah, man. Now, okay, so like, what's your definition then of a real man?
A real man is a man who keeps his word not only to others but to himself. If you don't keep your word to yourself, you can't keep your word to others. If somebody don't keep, if somebody say they going to the gym, don't do it. Say they gonna go on a diet, don't do it. Say they gonna start a business and they stop it. If
Facts.
they don't keep a word to themselves, they'll never keep their word to me. So I think number one, to be a real man, which means to be a leader, right? You got to keep your word first to yourself. Then you could keep it to everybody around you. You got to have your own principles, and I'm not saying what those should be, but you have to have something that you live and you die by. You got to be willing to stand on that regardless if you take a loss, whether it's money, whether it's relationship. That's what make you a real man. Taking care of your business, handling your business, taking care of your family. I feel like that's what make a real man. Having integrity, doing what you say do when you say to do it. You know what I'm saying?
We all know that. You got to be a man of your word. You got to, like, we know what makes a man a man. So it's like, I don't know who we preaching to. I think we might be preaching to the choir, you know?
Swinny, do you think in this day and age most men have a code?
What do you mean by that?
Like unwritten code of ethics that makes them who they are, like a bill of like a 10 commandments that they actually live by. Rain,
Most,
sleet, hail, or snow.
most men, yes. Now, I think there's a loud minority that we had that you're starting to see a breakdown in the code because there's a loud minority, but every man got, like, because life forces you to have it. Like, there ain't no choice, because if you don't live by it, there's a place for you every step of the way. If you don't live by it, there's a place for you.
I don't know, bro. I feel like life can force you out of your code. And so an example would be this: a bad, like, it's not, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but like a Tekashi 6ix9ine, right? He said he was a street person, right? He said he was a street dude. Life forced him to break whatever fake code he was upholding and show his true nature, and it came out. When he got put in a situation where they said you're going to jail to tell on these people, he said, okay, I'll tell, which was against everything he stood for.
But that wasn't his code, though.
You said that wasn't his
Nah,
what?
I don't think that was his code. I
He
think
was,
he was a TV personality who tried to build his brand on something that he really wasn't. Because the reality is that, why do you think so many people agree with Tekashi 6ix9ine when he did it? Because most people understand, nigga, if you do something to me, if this is what we going through and I don't fuck with you like that, or you harm me in some kind of way, nigga, it's gonna be you before it's me.
He was he wasn't
but
a gang member.
He wasn't a gang member. He don't.
He
That's
was
not a,
getting protected, and he was food for 8 trade gangsters up here.
oh,
The
Mark,
yeah, but
blood,
he did what
I agree.
body,
I'm
and
saying,
everything
I'm saying
protected him.
men profess they have a code in this day and age, but
Huh?
genuinely, like, men profess that they have a code. Do you genuinely believe that that is the code that they live by? And when the right scenario is presented where they have to take a loss based off of their code, are they gonna take that loss, or are they gonna bend and all of that shit crumble?
well, you
I
well,
would
can't
say
say,
I would
you
say they
use
would
your boy
bend, and I would.
Tekashi 6ix9ine as an example, but he's doing what normal street dudes do when they get pressure on them. Most of them, they always snitch. Which
And
one
I
that
and
ain't snitched? They got the police or the law, the FBI
that's how most
throwing
people
these
get
niggas
caught.
on them.
To answer
They
your
start talking.
question,
They all talk.
Hank, to answer your question, Shotty didn't fold. He stood in front of the judge, the guy that was pretty much the main shooter, the one who was eating. He took his time. He said, and it's documented on video, I don't bend, I don't fold. And he took
Who'd
his
you say?
time.
Say
Shotty,
I don't bend, I don't fold. It's Treyway,
it's
and and
Treyway.
and hold on. Let me just let stamp this point even harder. It's messed up, but he was actually supposedly sleeping with Takashi woman. Do you think that she believed his code was actually who he was and respected him more than she did her own man?
No,
I think so.
No, I think that he was some regular cornball ass dude who wanted to play gangster. I'm talking about Tekashi with money.
No, we talking about Shotty though. We saying
No.
that the reason she sleep with Shotty because he was a man who actually had a code that he lived by, and she respected that as opposed to how she looked at.
Is she still with him? Is she still with him?
She was smashing the whole. She was smashing the game.
Exactly. It's not even about it.
It wasn't about Shotty. She was low moral.
Yeah, we don't even know if she was probably introduced to Tekashi through these niggas.
Marcus, you asked, do men have a code? So the thing is, men typically just across the board, there's a general code for men, and it didn't start recently. We've had it for centuries. There is a standard for men. There's a standard for women too, but you asked about men, and this is King Talk. The answer is yes. Unfortunately, your second part of your question was, do we live by that today? Hell no. And it's getting worse generation by generation. Men is ignoring that. And in fact, I would argue that there's a certain sector of people out there that's encouraging men to violate that code and to ignore that code. You know, that's part of the whole gynocracy. You know what? Don't worry about that. And it's not about the snitching and the gang stuff. I'm just talking about integrity and having a backbone and standing on your word, and like everything that the brother said. And what do we remember? The word is your bond. We've heard all these cliches. Those are all part of the men's codes. And men is just like, man, I don't give a fuck about that. I don't care nothing about that. Fuck that shit. It's all about me. I think hyper individualism. I think I spoke on this one time before. Hyper individualism and selfishness is promoted, and if hyper individualism and selfishness is what people live by these days, then that code is gone. It doesn't work. And Darwin knows it doesn't work in the military. You can't have a strong military if everybody's breaking the code. I mean, you guys all seen the movie 300. You know what I'm saying? So if you got men out there who know what they should do inherently, and normally, and being taught and told that, and they're actually not doing it because fuck that, I got to get mine, then the answer is nah, man. And I don't know what we're gonna do about that. I don't have a solution, but
let me add to that. I would say men do live by code. I think what we're missing is within the code, there are certain things that supersede the other. For example, one would make the decision based on his best interest, the best interest of what he actually values. For example, and I'm gonna go back to what Shan said about the military. The code is to, or the ethos or the creed is to always place the mission first. And then later on, it's never leaving fallen combat. But at that moment, I have to make a decision. Am I gonna get my buddy out of burning Humvee that I done spent 6 years in the military with, going back and forth to downrange and meeting his family, sitting at barbecues? Or I'm gonna take this C4 over to that fucking brig and blow it up so thousands of soldiers can get through. The code is to always place the mission first, never leave a fallen comrade. But there's things that you value at that moment that's in the best interest of what you value. You're gonna make a decision on that. And one would, and Shannon quote me on this, the code is to place that mission first. Fuck that, fuck him in the Humvee, right? That's what the Army would tell you to do. Get the mission done. That's what the colonel up ahead is gonna say. Get that mission done. That's a collateral. That's a casualty of war. But would I be wrong to go get my buddy out? According to the code, yeah. But it's whatever I value more. One thing supersedes the other. So the best interest of my value, the thing that I'm more interested in as far as value, is getting my buddy out of the. I couldn't live with myself. You know what I'm saying? Anymore, leaving my buddy in there to burn. When I know that I can get him out so he can go home and see his kids. So it's all about, I think, with Tanashi or any of these rappers, when they know that, hey, look, don't snitch. But when their life is at stake and the things that they value the most is at stake, then they tend to make the decision on what they value, and they don't give a fuck about nothing else. And that is the code. The code is to survive. The code is, I think that's in our nature.
See, but Darwin, real quick, the thing about the scenario that you gave is that none of those were selfish. Whether you went to go blow up the bridge, which was the mission, or whether you got your battle buddy out of the burning Humvee, both of those were a selfless act, and you would get awarded either way. But also understand, when you say I can't live with the fact that I let my battle buddy burn in a burning Humvee because I completed the mission, can you live with the fact that the entire platoon is dead because you didn't complete it? Yeah, maybe you saved your boy, but now you just killed 100 men because you didn't do your mission that you was tasked to do to begin with. You're saying now you could sleep better? That's a completely different conversation. We can have that later. But there's a reason why the mission takes precedent over your own personal reasons, because it's not about you and it's not about him as individual soldiers. It's about the entire company. And if you put the entire company or platoon or brigade or whatever size outfit that you guys have out there in jeopardy because you got your feelings involved, because this is your boy and you know his family and you had fun with him and you known him for 6 years, and now you just wiped out an entire platoon because you decided to make that decision, I'd have a problem with you.
I would expect you to have a problem with me, but that still makes my point. At that moment I made that decision based on what I value more. I value my buddy burning in the truck versus the mission.
But you're not off code though. See, now Marcus is asking, do we have a code and are we on code? You are making a selfless decision either way, whether you continue the mission or whether you go dig somebody out of a burning Humvee. If you were to go AWOL and say, fuck all these motherfuckers, I got to get home. If you were to become a deserter and say, man, this firefight is too hard for me. I know the Humvee burning, bro, but that shit is hot. And I'm scared to go up that mountain. I don't want to put the C4 on the fucking bridge. I'm going over here to safety and hide behind this rock. That's where I'm saying a lot of men right now are selfish.
In a sense, that would be still considered selfish, because I worried about my own feelings and the connection I had with my buddy.
Yeah,
versus
they could still call it selfish.
So I made a selfish decision, thinking about my own experience and memories and the shit that I would have to go say to this man's wife at her doorstep and handing him the flag. That's selfish.